everybody. Welcome today. As Melissa said, I'm Arlene and I'm here representing Adbri Masonry today. We are extremely proud to be the sponsors of today's event and really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about permeable paving. For those of you that don't know us, we are a local masonry manufacturer. We manufacture masonry units in addition to permeable paving units, and we really see a lot of opportunity for using permeable paving. We think it's a great product and we'd really like to see the use of it promoted. In fact, we wish that most of the other states around Australia were as open-minded about the use of permeable paving in projects as you guys are here in South Australia. We see a fair bit of pushback from some of the other councils, and most of that is because they don't understand the design or the concept of permeable paving. Some of my favourite comments have been, what do I use to stick my permeable pavers down to the concrete slab? And you want me to put water into the pavement? Are you nuts? But permeable paving does do exactly that. We are trying to feed the water into the pavement and into the base. And we appreciate these educational experiences to go through how those designs are done and how we can accommodate the different things on site. So a typical permeable paving system, I'm not going to get technical on you here today. That's for some of the other presenters to do. I'm just going to go through some case studies. But typically what you're looking at is a permeable paved surface. We have got some pavers up the back there that you can have a look at after the presentations. But we generally work on at least 8% of a permeable surface on the pavers so that we get a truly permeable pavement. That then leads down to a 2 to 5 mil fine graded aggregate bedding course overlying a graded permeable base. Now, I have been with Adbri Masonry for 21 years now, but I still didn't start with the business early enough to be involved with this iconic project, the Sydney Olympic Precinct project, which today is still the largest permeable paving project that we as a business have been involved with. This project used permeable paving throughout the pedestrian thoroughfare areas, and it was actually assessed by Disability Australia before the project was done so that we could make sure that there was going to be no issues with disabled access on the site, which was very important to them. Instead, the first project that I was involved with was a small school up in the Gold Coast hinterland. An ideal location for permeable paving because it rains there quite a bit, but it probably wasn't the best design of permeable paving that you will ever see. So this one was what is known as a partial infiltration system, where some of the water would be absorbed into the ground, and then the balance that couldn't be absorbed would be captured in the drainage pipes that you see there through the base, which they then fed out through a culvert right next to them and into the adjacent paddock, which is why it's not the best example of a permeable paving project. But the rest of the project did go more what you would be inclined to see for permeable paving projects. So we had our graded permeable base material that we compacted in place. In this project, they opted to put their filter fabric layer, not always recommended depending on your braking loads, but for a small car park like this, it is good. Then you have your fine graded aggregate material over your filter fabric with your paving units on top. The paving units are cut in along the edge so that you can put your header course detail in. And once the header course is in place, you fill your joints and voids with your fine graded aggregate and you plate the surface of the pavement. So that is done to seat the pavers, make sure the pavement is locked up. It will vibrate that fine aggregate in the joints so that it settles, and then you can sweep more aggregate in to make sure that it's fully closed up at the end of the project. So this particular project, as I said, it was a small car park. They had a reinforced concrete slab for the cars to drive in and around, and they used the permeable paving on the car parking bays. And when you go there when it's raining, you can see how well the permeable paving is performing. And if you look at the background there, You'll see it changes a bit. We went back a year later and it was still performing really, really well. Another school had the desire to use permeable paving in their project, but they didn't want to excavate or do a lot of excavation around the school grounds. So they wanted to get the benefit of permeable paving, but they weren't looking to capture and store a lot of the stormwater. So they opted to use no-fines concrete as their base material. So they were getting the strength from the no-fines concrete to give them their structural capacity, but they only needed to excavate down 100 mil to be able to put the paving in and around the school. Another school in Melbourne, they chose to use different coloured paving units to create their car parking bays. So they used the different colours to create the line marking for the paving. But it's not only schools that we use permeable paving in. We can also use them in residential developments and streetscapes. We have pedestrian precincts. The one on the right is a bus interchange at a sporting ground. And this is a local project that is currently under construction. So this is Waterfall Gully Road, where a car park is being installed. And at the moment, they have got their base materials in, and they have started putting down their fine aggregates over the filter fabric and the pavers over the surface. There are a lot of other local projects that you've got where the reason for using the permeable paving has actually been environmental reasons, because you've got trees locally. So the Mitchell Memorial Library, there was a lot of existing trees around the car park that they wanted to be able to work around those. The same with the Kent Street project at Hawthorn, where we have 1 kilometre stretches of permeable paving on either side of the road for the car parking bays, and the water is captured and used to feed the trees. This initiative here that is part of that project is wonderful. I would love to see this happen more and more often, because it is educating the public as to the benefits of permeable paving. And you've also got your own sporting icon project, obviously, here with your Adelaide Sports Ground, where you've put the permeable paving in around those existing fig trees. This is very similar to what was done at the Brisbane Botanical Gardens. About 10 years ago, we were going through some drought conditions up there, and the Moreton Bay figs that you see in the left photo on either side of the pathway, all the root structures were coming up and they were popping the pavers that were in the botanical gardens already, and they were coming up looking for moisture and air, and it was creating a trip hazard. So the council wanted to redevelop around the trees, and they came to us to ask how they could do this. So we went in and we did excavation around the roots of the trees with using water jets, so that we were getting all the soil away but without damaging the root structure. The aggregate material was then placed in and around the tree roots, and the paving was laid over the top. And all of the water that was captured through that permeable paving was fed back to the root structure via the pipes that you can see in the detail there. Now, I don't want you to think that it's only schools and car parks that you can use this product. It hasn't happened here in Australia as yet, but overseas, this type of paving product has been used in industrial hardstand projects as well. So there is no limit to what you can do with permeable paving. I hope that I have opened your mind to what you can do with permeable paving products. And I will now let some of the other speakers talk to you about how to actually design with it.
Hi, my name is Ben. I'm from Design World Landscape Architects. My question was just in regards to using the water jet treatment for removing the soil around the trees. So you'd use that to get rid of the soil, and then you'd put your aggregates up in between the tree roots, is that correct?
Yeah, so it wasn't around all of the root structure, it was just the outlying tree roots that we water jetted around them. The majority of the tree roots were still in the natural soil around the tree itself.
Okay, so in terms of how far you're impacting on the structural root zone, would that kind of be the extent, or?
That is the extent, yes.
So from there outwards, you're paving ultimately?
Yeah, so it was usually around about 4 to 5 metres that we were outside the actual trunk of the tree.
And so were there pavers in between, or I guess were there roots coming in between pavers that were exposed, or?
They built the pavement up, so the tree roots had come up, it had popped the existing paving surface. When we lifted the pavers up and put the aggregate in, we actually built the pavement up to a higher level so that it was sitting above those tree roots that had come up to the surface.